Welcome to Hey Dancer. I'm your host, Miller Daurey. If you're hooked on the grind, the sweat, and those unsung tales of dance, I gotta tell you, you're in the right spot. Today's episode is about a kid who fought his way from the shadows to the spotlight, one step at a time. Just take a moment to hit subscribe on YouTube if you're watching there. You can like the video, leave a comment, and hit that notification bell so you are immediately alerted when a video drops. And hey, if you have recommendations for subjects, dancers, choreographers for future episodes, again, tell me below in the comments. And if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, anywhere else, make sure you rate and review and follow. It means a lot. It goes a long way. Thank you so much. Okay, now let's jazz kick our way into another inspiring dance journey. Let's get into it. This story begins with a boy born to Greek immigrants from a Turkish village called Platiano, a place he'd later describe as a mix of Greeks and Turks. He grew up in Norwood, Ohio, one of 8 kids in a tight-knit family that moved around a lot, chasing work and new starts. Singing lit up his world early on. He'd walk home from movie musicals, crooning the tunes in his head, lost in a fantasy. "I knew I had a decent voice," he once told an interviewer, though he kept it all to himself way back then. Before settling in Long Beach, California at age 12, he sang in a Tucson boys choir during a brief Arizona stint, just one stop in his family's wandering years. Once in Long Beach, he joined St. Luke's Episcopal Church Choir, a gig that happened to land him his first taste of Hollywood. See, he was a tiny figure in the back of a Katharine Hepburn movie called Song of Love, uncredited, but that moment stuck with him. Dance wasn't part of his life yet. He was still a choir boy with big dreams and no steps to show for it. Dance entered his life thanks to a friend, Joan Scanlon, who'd heard about the American School of Dance on Hollywood Boulevard, a place where stars like Sid Charisse and Leslie Caron honed their craft. That sparked something in him. So, one morning, he took a train from Long Beach to Hollywood to watch a professional class. Now, there were no big names in this class he happened to watch, just pure movement, and it hit him hard. "I saw that class and knew that's what I wanted to do," he said years later. School didn't really hold his interest. He gave Long Beach City College a shot after high school, but walked away after a year. He didn't have money or connections in the business, just a burning drive to make it happen. To afford it, he took a day job as an office boy in the advertising department at the May Company downtown. At night, he'd head to the American School of Dance for classes. He earned a scholarship there by staying late, locking up, and cleaning the mirrors. Sometimes, after those sessions, he'd walk Hollywood Boulevard all alone at 11 p.m., passing Grauman's Chinese Theater, dreaming of more. His classmates swapped stories about working on Singin' in the Rain, and he felt behind. He wasn't some child prodigy doing dance, but it didn't matter. He was ready to hustle, working days, training nights, chasing his shot. His first real break came when choreographer Eugene Loring needed dozens of male dancers for a wild Dr. Seuss movie called The 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T. It had a big dungeon scene with more moves than the Screen Actors Guild could supply, so he auditioned, got the gig, and earned enough money to join the union. That cracked the door open to more work. He danced behind Marilyn Monroe in Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend from Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. Ha! Talk about iconic, right? He worked alongside Debbie Reynolds in Give a Girl a Break, performed Scottish sword dances in Brigadoon, and joined the ensemble of There's No Business Like Show Business. Then came White Christmas, where he joined 3 other dancers to frame Rosemary Clooney during her sultry number, Love Ya Didn't Do Right By Me. Before the film even hit theaters in October 1954, Life magazine ran a spread with a photo of that quartet spotlighting their sharp moves behind Clooney. Well, fans noticed him in the shot and started writing letters asking, "Who's that guy?" That buzz caught Paramount's eye. Because of those curious fans, the studio tracked him down and offered him a contract, seeing potential in the face people were talking about. But here's the kicker. When White Christmas finally rolled out, his name still didn't appear in the credits. He was just another unlisted dancer on screen, even with Paramount's deal in his pocket. No billing, just a paycheck and a foot in the door. But with the advent of television, the Hollywood movie musicals were basically coming to an end. Not a lot of work. That shift hit him hard. His passion was alive, but the opportunities were drying up. Frustrated with Hollywood's fading musicals, he scraped together cash for a one-way ticket to New York in 1958 and crashed on friends' couches. Those pals had already made the leap east and knew the city's rhythm, tipping him off that West Side Story, a Broadway smash nearing its first year, was hunting for replacements and a London cast. On their advice, he walked into the Winter Garden Theater one day with no appointment, found stage manager Ruth Mitchell, and asked for a chance to audition. "I don't know how I had the guts to do it, but I did," he told an interviewer later. Ruth handed him a script to read for Jerome Robbins, the show's brilliant director and choreographer. Now, Robbins was busy rehearsing his other project, Ballets USA, across town at the Alvin Theater, so she sent him there. Over the next few days, he auditioned during Robbins' lunch breaks from Ballets USA. He read for Riff, the Jets' leader, then spent a week learning Cool, a jazzy, tense song Riff sings to keep his gang steady. Working it out with a pianist Robbins provided. Time dragged, with no word, stretching his nerves thin. Then, on his birthday, September 16th, Ruth called with the news. He'd won Riff for the London production. He packed his bags, crossed the ocean, and spent nearly 2 years commanding that stage, belting Cool, fighting shin splints from Robbins' punishing choreography, and studying every move of Bernardo, the Sharks' leader across the rumble. That grind wasn't just a paycheck. It was groundwork for a future he couldn't yet imagine. While he was still performing Riff in London, word spread that West Side Story was heading to the big screen. 5 from the London cast, including him, got letters from United Artists inviting them to test for the film. Big names like Elizabeth Taylor and Elvis Presley were rumored for leads, so he kind of figured his odds were super slim. Even so, when he got a break from the show, his dad picked him up at the airport back home and drove him to the studio lot. This time, he tested for Bernardo, not Riff, under the eye of Jerome Robbins. Robbins directed the test himself, pushing for precision in every move. By Sunday, he was back on a plane to London, slipping back into Riff's shoes on stage, waiting and wondering if anything would come of it. The uncertainty gnawed at him. Those were some long days. Finally, word arrived. He'd won Bernardo, leader of the Sharks. Filming West Side Story stretched over 7 months. His first real dance on camera, and it wasn't all smooth. Those sharkskin trousers were so tight that one day, mid-take, they split right down the back. He laughed it off, swapped them for black tights underneath, and kept going. Co-directors Robert Wise and Jerome Robbins gave them room to play, laughing through flubs, keeping it raw. The America number stood out. He and the Sharks girls danced on a rooftop set, blending mambo and jazz, pushing through Robbins' relentless drills till it felt alive. All those years in the chorus had built a foundation he could lean on, every step ingrained from countless rehearsals, and now he finally had the chance to take the lead. The film wrapped and anticipation built. West Side Story hit theaters to raves. Critics called it a game changer. Audiences packed houses, and dance fans couldn't get enough of the Sharks and Jets. Then came the Oscar buzz. Nominations dropped, and guess what? He is up for Best Supporting Actor, pitted against Hollywood heavyweights like Montgomery Clift and George C. Scott. Opening night of the movie had been very big, obviously, but the Oscars, was next level. He rolled up to this ceremony with his co-star, Rita Moreno, who'd played Anita, his on-screen love. They'd grown tight during filming, laughing through takes, and stayed forever friends. And then, first up, the category of Best Supporting Actor. The envelope opened, and he'd won. Stunned, he stumbled to the stage, managing only 6 seconds. That's it, one of the shortest speeches ever. Well, that win flipped his life. Contracts rolled in. Lead roles followed, like Diamond Head with Charlton Heston. He kept dancing where he could, because as we know, musicals in Hollywood were fading. So he popped up on variety shows, dancing, like on The Carol Burnett Show. Hollywood tugged him toward acting, though. Films in Japan, like Flight from Ashia, France with The Young Girls of Rochford with Gene Kelly, and was a regular face on many TV classics from the 70s and 80s, like The Partridge Family, Dallas, Fantasy Island, Murder, She Wrote, Hawaii Five-0, the list goes on. Decades later, he left handprints at Grauman's Chinese Theater, right where he'd walked as a dreamer. That's him. A kid who battled from choir to chorus, stage to screen, uncredited to unforgettable. His name, George Chakiris. And now you know the rest of the story. As I always say, these episodes are meant to be just, a window into a dance legend, into their life, or maybe a moment in dance history. It is in no way meant to be a full resume, because that would be like 2 hours or something. And I'm trying to keep these, popping and all that. But I do like to give a little bit in the outro, a little bit extra. So here's a little side note for you, because I am really a stickler for not messing anything up on these episodes. It's amazing all the research that goes into it. That village I mentioned in the beginning, Platiano, where his parents came from, well, George calls it that in his memoir and in interviews. A small Turkish spot with Greeks and Turks mixed together. But if you try Googling it, which I did a lot, you're not going to find much. It turns out it might have been too tiny to even make the maps, or maybe it was renamed after the big Greek-Turkish population swap in 1923. Trust me, I dug deep, and even the history buffs don't have a clear pin on it. Still, it's his story, it's his family's root, so because of that, I stuck with what he says. Platiano, that's what it's gotta be. But hey, if you happen to know more, tell me in the comments. Some things about his career I wanted to note. He played Bobby in the first national tour of Stephen Sondheim's company in 1971, opposite leading lady Elaine Stritch, who had originated the role of Joanne on Broadway. The production played for 4 months at the Amundsen Theater at the Music Center in LA before going on the road to San Francisco, then Toronto. George would say, "For 8 months of my life in 1971, I had the pleasure of working with Elaine in company. It was a great time, mostly due to Elaine." He was in Your Arms with Donna McKechnie, a dance legend herself, at the Old Globe Theater in San Diego. Oh, speaking of Globe, he also won the Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actor for West Side Story. Now, George is still awesome. He is past 90 years old. Actually, his 90th birthday bash was in 2022. He reflected on his life during this red carpet interview, and I want to play you one clip.
I can't believe it that you are 90, but you look 60. So what is your secret?
Well, I don't have a secret, but I just lucky with my genes. I think maybe that's it. The other thing I think about in terms of feeling good and all of that is because most of my life I've exercised, been a dancer using my whole body, and a day without a class wasn't a good day.
See, that love for dance never left him, and I love that he said that so much. I really do think that dance, it just keeps you feeling young, keeps you looking young, And just when he said that a day without class wasn't a good day, I don't know, dancers, we can relate, right? I also wanted to comment on, it's wild to think how often dancers like him went uncredited back then and still do today. This is a common thing for dancers, and it's amazing to me, and it's got to get rectified. The Choreographers Guild is a thing now for a good couple of years. I know they're working on this, but it's borderline tragic, and I don't say that to be hyperbolic. Like, it is such a shame that dancers work so hard to book a job in TV or movies, and they have to go through rounds of auditions, and then to be on set and to be at the ready, you know, to have their body warm and conditioned take after take, sometimes hours in between takes, just working so hard. And again, to go through so much just to even get the job. You know, they gotta go through casting and auditions and choreographers and directors and producers, all the things. To not have our names mentioned at the end of the movie, you know, in the credits, is just ridiculous. And it was just really fascinating to really research Mr. Chakiris's journey, and just to really see how, for the love of dance and booking job after job as really part of, you know, the chorus in so many movies as a dancer, never getting credited, to all of a sudden, well, that sounds funny, right? All of a sudden, it's like the overnight story that takes years. But, you know, all of a sudden, there he is in West Side Story, dancing in a lead role as an actor and winning an Oscar. I mean, that is paying your dues. That is tenacity. That is working hard. And I love that he and Rita Moreno are both still with us. They're looking wonderful. They're in their 90s, living legends from a golden age. They still appear on talk shows together. Oh, and the last thing I'll mention is that George is now a jewelry maker. He has a hobby of making sterling silver jewelry, and he's turned it into a new occupation, working as a jewelry designer for his own brand, George Chakiris Collections, consisting of handmade, original sterling silver jewelry. I mean, come on, I love this guy. He is an artist through and through, always creating, always evolving, and just always being awesome. Does that sound corny? I don't care. I just think it's true. Thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in. Again, I'm your host, Miller Daurey. It's an honor to have you here, and I'll see you next time.